Hello and welcome to another episode of Sustainability in Your Ear. This is the Earth911 podcast. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, and we have been interviewing folks who do great work on recycling and sustainable living writing. And today we are pleased to be joined by Kathryn Kellog, who's the founder of GoingZeroWaste.com. It's a blog and shopping site that we have pointed to many times in our articles and on Facebook. Kathryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tell us, how did you get started with Going Zero Waste? It's a great site. What inspired it?
Thank you. It's a bit of a journey. So I officially started the website in 2015, but for me personally in 2010, I had a breast cancer scare and it really turned my entire world upside down. I started paying attention to the products I was using, my beauty products, cleaning products, even plastics. These all contain endocrine disruptors, which interfere with our hormone system. And so I was trying to live a more natural lifestyle. I was a professional actor out of school. And as we know, actors don't make a lot of money. I was living on around $250 a week. And a lot of these changes that I was trying to make fell very nice and neatly under the zero waste umbrella because I was shopping secondhand. I was making my own products. I was trying to avoid plastic. I was doing all of these things to better my health, of course, save money. And when I moved to California, that's when it all really kind of sunk in for me. It was the first time I had ever seen the plastic pollution, and being so close to the coast and the water, it all just clicked that the changes I was making for my personal health weren't only better for my personal health, but also better for the health of the planet.
That's what's great about the way that you write about this. You extrapolate from personal experience to understanding that each little thing we do makes an impact for the better all up, and it's really refreshing to see that. Now, you found, for instance, that your deodorant was one of the things you felt contributed to the scare you had. How do you go about making choices about things like deodorant today?
So, yeah, it was really interesting. I had a lot of chronic pain. And when I switched my deodorant, what I found was most of my pain went away, which was pretty astounding. And that's one of the main reasons I started paying attention to a lot of the ingredients, because aluminum in deodorants, have been linked to several health issues, and then parabens, right, which are also found in deodorants. All they do is manage to drive the aluminum further and deeper into your skin, which is not exactly what you want. Especially the armpits are so sensitive. We have like 20 lymph nodes in that area, which is one of our main areas for our body excreting some of the things and toxins that might build up in our systems. And so it definitely created a new idea in my mind of trying to really pay attention, because I feel as humans, we often operate above the system. We think that we're above nature, or somehow we're above what we consume, but it's all interconnected. Like, what we consume is a part of us, and what we do is a part of nature, and the actions that we have aren't done in a vacuum, but instead influence others around us, the environment around us. And I think we have this ability to really detach ourselves. And so for me, it just became very much about connecting.
That's great. That's actually very much the way we see it as well. Now, as you have taught yourself to be more and more light living upon the earth, what do you think the key things that you've learned people should be aware of when they first look at the idea of going zero waste, which is such a big goal? But as you point out, this is about trade-offs and making progress towards that goal. How would you suggest somebody get started? And by the way, you have a great article on this, so I hope everybody will go check that out as well.
Thank you. So it is a monumental task when you think about it, going zero waste. And I think it's kind of been co-opted by this idea that you have to fit all of your trash in a mason jar, which is an experiment that I ran. And I think it's very important that we call it what it is, which is an experiment, because it is impossible to live a zero waste lifestyle in our current system. We live in a linear economy, which means that our products are designed with the landfill in mind. So we are trying to imitate a circular economy, which is where products aren't designed with the landfill in mind. So of course, this is going to be a design problem. It's going to be an infrastructure problem. It's going to be a policy problem. There's so much more to it. And so instead for me, it's about being really conscious of what I do and what I consume. And one of the best things that I've done and implemented is a 30-day no buy waiting period, which I might be more minimalism than zero waste, but it's allowed me to really separate myself from what I truly need, things that I truly want and value and will bring happiness to my life, and the things that I really don't need and aren't necessary.
So do you actually, anything that you're considering buying, wait 30 days to make the decision?
Obviously, there are some necessities like food.
Sure.
That wouldn't count. But yeah, I think so often we are convinced that we have to have a certain product for a certain need. So I just did this I have a new office space, and I'm so happy to be in it. And I wanted to have a way to make tea. I really enjoy making tea, and I have a stove, but the stove is downstairs. And so I didn't want to have to go all the way upstairs, all the way downstairs to get a cup of tea every single time. It just was taking way too much time out of my day. And so I was trying to look at electric kettles. Maybe I could get an electric kettle for my office. And before I decided to buy the kettle that I was looking at, I thought, you know what, I'm going to wait 30 days and see if I can come up with any other creative solution. And I did. I found a great solution. I have a double insulated wine bottle in my home that I actually never used, and it holds an entire French press worth of tea. And because it has such a narrow spout, it doesn't really let any heat out. So it will hold a French press of tea hot, very hot, for 3 hours. And at that point, I'll have drank all of it and I can go back down. It works in my lifestyle. It took me 15 days. I mean, I experimented with so many different types of ways of brewing tea in my office. It was a blast. It was great to be creative. And what I found was I didn't need to buy anything, but the solution was with me the whole time.
That's great. You made me feel guilty about 2 purchases I just made, in fact.
Oh no, that was not my goal, I promise.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, because one of the things that happened is as soon as I purchased one of these things, I found the solution with an existing product, and then I thought, well, I've already got it. And that's our greed. That's our way of thinking acquisitively rather than thinking in terms of finding solutions. Now, so what are some other examples of waiting and thinking before buying, which is really what we're talking about?
So I will say one of the main challenges with that is living a zero waste lifestyle. We want to use fewer resources. So often this means shopping secondhand, because when you buy something secondhand, you're buying something that's already been bought. You're taking something out of the waste stream. You're giving new life to a product that already exists, which is a really great goal. And it can be hard to wait 30 days when you find the perfect item in a thrift store, because that item probably isn't going to be there if you actually wait 30 days. So the way the way I've managed around that is I have kind of a running list, and then it doesn't really make it onto the official list unless I've waited for 30 days. And typically if I'm looking for something in a thrift store, it's going to be something that I'm going to have been waiting for or been looking for a much longer period of time.
So you create the impression for yourself that this is what I've been looking for. You set the stage for a determined and considered judgment at the right time.
Correct.
Oh, that's great thinking. Now, you've got a book coming out, 101 Ways to Go Zero Waste. It's due on April 2nd. We've already ordered our copy.
Thank you. That makes me so happy.
Well, so it's a go-to starting point, I think, for going zero waste. What can people expect when that book comes out?
I'm so excited about this book. It is the book I wish that I had when I started looking into living a more eco-friendly, zero-waste, minimalistic lifestyle. It is a handbook. It is 101 tips. It is something that you could read cover to cover, but also it's more of a reference. So if you're like, you know what, floss, what am I going to do about floss? You have a book, you can reference it, and you can have all of your answers in one place. And it's just a labor of love that I poured myself into. I do a lot of DIY recipes on my blog, and that's because they're cheaper, and I find that they're really accessible because not everyone has access to, fancy bulk stores with cleaning products in bulk or things like that. So I try to make really simple recipes that people can use that are more natural for their home. And so it's around like 50 brand new recipes that have never been seen on my blog that I'm so happy to share, like different cleaning recipes, even cooking recipes for cooking with food scraps, beauty recipes. And so I hope that if you are in the process of wanting to reduce your trash, that you will definitely check it out, because I think you'll find some useful tips, and it's especially good for beginners.
And you've also got on your site a store where you basically promote the products that have endured the Kathryn test. How do you choose what goes onto the store?
So yes, it's pretty much all things that I own, use, or my dog owns and uses. And they're just products that have added a lot of value to my life. And you will also see on the top of that page, it says, please make sure to check the secondhand market first, which I think is very important, because a lot of these items I have managed to find secondhand. But some of my favorite are Snapware. I don't think I could live without Snapware.
Why? What makes that particularly important?
Well, when I first went zero waste, I was on a very, very strict budget, and I shoved everything into a mason jar because I had roommates, and they would all save their pasta sauce jars for me and their salsa jars. And I collected every glass jar. I went to the thrift store every week and bought a whole bunch of 25-cent mason jars. And for about a year and a half, I shoved everything, including sandwiches, in a mason jar. And using a mason jar to hold a sandwich is probably not the best container. So
a little foldy.
Yeah. So when I got Snapware, there are these square kind of Pyrex dishes that you can use to buy things in. You can bake things in them. You can freeze in them. You can store sandwiches in them much easier than a mason jar. And so they're just one of those very first items I was able to buy for myself that just really, really helped make my life a lot easier. And so I think they will always be one of my first loves.
So that's great. Now, you mentioned the circular economy before, and that's certainly something that a lot of people are becoming more aware of. I'm wondering if you noticed the launch of Loop recently, which it was a TerraCycle project with a bunch of different brands, and they are promising now to deliver a box that has all these, for instance, bathroom goods in it, and then take the box back with all of the waste, material, packaging waste, so that it can be recycled. I'm curious, as somebody who thinks so much about zero waste and about living leanly, how does that strike you as a solution? What kind of guidance would you give the Loop folks if you could?
Oh man, when Loop dropped, I was shocked. Someone from Unilever sent me a press release to my email. I read it, and I was in a state of shock for about probably at least 7 hours. I was pretty catatonic because this is huge. I mean, some of the biggest brands in the world. I mean, these brands are in more countries than have representatives at the UN. If they make changes and they can make worldwide changes, the impact that could have is astounding. And so while I don't personally use a lot of the products that are in this current project, I hope that this is the most successful project in the world. Because right now I know it's premiering in New York and Paris. And I hope it's so successful. I hope that it becomes the most profitable model. I hope every business is able to access this infrastructure, and it completely changes the way we shop. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I feel the same way. In fact, I wrote a piece on Earth911 about that today, the day that we're recording. And there's a lot of promise there, but as you just pointed out, you don't use a lot of those things today because you've made some conscious decisions not to include them. How do you think we need to, and this raises the general question of how do we build a reverse logistics system that would capture all the different materials we produce at different rates? That's what I'm concerned about with the Loop box, because one of the items they said that they would take back were diapers, dirty diapers. And I thought, wow, I don't want that sitting around while I wait for the other stuff I bought to be empty to put in the same box. How do you envision your life, say 10 years from now, being circular and factoring in things like Loop, but other solutions as well? Because you obviously have gone out pioneering your own way. Where would you take it?
That is a great question. Wow, I have so many ideas.
Well, go for it.
10 years from now, I do think the world will be operating with a lot more circular systems, because I think we have to. I think we're at this kind of breaking point. And I was at a sustainability forum, I guess 2 weeks ago, and someone from Procter & Gamble was there, and like there were several industrial designers there, and they were all talking about this and how they want to go through the value chains of their products, find where the problems are, and try to design the problem out from the beginning, which is exactly what we're talking about. So I definitely think it's the future. And I would love, I mean, in my dream 10 years from now, composting is mandatory, recycling is mandated a little bit more strictly. And I thought it was so cool at the forum. I also want to see a lot more like gamification when it comes to these things. Like I know when it comes to, electric cars, when you drive, they give you like a score, and there's, on your electric bill, people are starting to put comparisons on to show how you're doing, to almost make it a competition between your neighbors. And recycling companies like Waste Management, they'll put like a smiley face or a frowny face tag on your bin to tell you if you're doing a good job. And I want to see more of that as well. And I think we will start to see that and kind of turn this into more of a competition as it becomes more and more necessary for us to conserve.
Yeah, the idea of gamification is also linked to forms of compensation, which may be social and maybe financial. But one of the things I'm particularly interested in is how do we get more people doing the cleanup of the world? And to your point about the future of these products, a lot of these companies are going to have to change the way they think about what they put into these boxes. The brilliance to me of Loop was they took away the question, is this recyclable? Well, it comes in the Loop box, it's recyclable. But we still need to be aware of all the other ways in which we produce waste that are not containerized by a Loop box or something like it. And that's the vast majority of the living we do on a daily basis. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how this conversation continues to evolve. And people like you doing your blog, and hopefully Earth911 too, will be an important component of that discussion. So now folks can order 101 ways to get to zero waste, or go zero waste, on Amazon. Its pre-order is available now. What's coming up on Going Zero Waste that you'd like people to pay attention to?
Well, I just finished the marathon known as the 31-Day Zero Waste Challenge, which we did in January. It was a lot of fun. Exhausting, but fun. And so I do encourage anyone who's looking for a great place to start. Of course, there's the book, but also there's the 31-Day Zero Waste Challenge, where every day I present you a problem, the solution, and then a challenge for you to take action on. And we've got a great community. There's a private Facebook group where you can kind of jump in and join. And I'm probably going to be running it for Plastic Free July as well. And those are the big things. Now it's time to regroup and hopefully focus on some larger projects for the coming year.
Well, I think, as you said, society is at a point where it's ready to make some big changes, and we all know we have to. So let's all push together to have that happen. Kathryn Kellog, thank you very much for joining us today on Sustainability in Your Ear.
Thank you so much for having me.
And folks, we'll be back with another interview with an inspiring green leader soon. This is Mitch Ratcliffe, Earth911's podcast. Sustainability in Your Ear is done. We'll talk soon.